Today, I'm going to talk to you about participative sport. It lies on the other end of the spectrum on a sporting canvas. So you have spectatorial sport and you have participative sport. And I'm going to talk to you particularly on the sport of distance running. Until the end of 2003, I think there was just one non-timed distance running event. And after the launch of the Mumbai Marathon in 2004, this sport spawned a not-so-silent revolution across the length and breadth of this nation. Slowly at first, but it picked up rapid pace. And 2017 was a watershed year. Over 1 million people registered for over 800 timed events. And that's almost 3 events a day, 3 runs a day. And this movement inspired millions, yes, millions. And not only those who participated formally. It inspired their families, their peers, their colleagues, their friends. When they saw this transformation take place in front of them, it just became one huge tsunami, if I may put it that way. And this entire movement gave rise to a $300 million industry annually. That's what it is today. Anyway, my journey began with my brother at the start line of the London Marathon. And what I experienced there that day was truly, truly surreal. And it's actually also made me understand the difference between spectator sport and participative sport. It really did. Because spectator sport is about winners and losers. And we react to them as to how that unfolds. I've played sport formally, and I've also been privileged to visit the greatest sporting spectacles all over this world, be it the Rugby World Cup, be it the Grand Slams in tennis, the golf majors, the Olympics. I've been so privileged. But I've always been part of that side of the canvas of sport, which is spectatorial. But on the start of the London Marathon, starting line, I saw 40,000 runners and 40,000 winners. And I mean this. And they were running next to professionals. They were made of all shapes and sizes, all caste and creed, men, women, young, old. But they were all winners. And that's the day I understood, I really got the power of sport, what sport really stands for, what it really is about, and the fabric of sport. Because being winners, when you, as a professional, you win, you race to win. But here, everybody had trained for his goal. And that's why we had 40,000 winners. It was truly a surreal experience. And you know what comes with 40,000 winners? Is 40,000 stories. And that's what makes life. Life is about stories. When my brother and me returned from London, we were all sort of, fully charged. This is what we are going to deliver. This is what we're going to do. When we sat back and we realized, that's a bit of bravado that we're kind of showing over here. Because I was clear on one strategy. If this was going to create change, I needed to have the richest marathon in Asia. I needed to have the best professional athletes on the start line. I needed to have the backdrop of Mumbai and the best parts, Marine Drive, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. I needed live television with helicopters in the air. I needed global brand ambassadors to come and inspire us and take our tale back to the world. And I also needed sponsors to believe in me, but let's not forget the 19 government agencies that we needed to sort of mesh together so that should all sort of work in perfect harmony. And then the politicians. And that was a bit scary when you looked at, what are we out to do? What is important is that when we started to say, okay, doesn't matter what's in front of us, we'll make it work. And every store we hit, every bath we sort of knocked and tried, it opened and it threw us out pretty quickly. So we said, okay, let's look back. And instead of trying to do everything once, let's just prioritize. And let's focus on finding a partner that believes in our vision, believes in the scale of our vision, and we can take it forward. And it took me 2 long years to find Standard Chartered to back this vision. And I think it happened because they understood the power of the sport, because they, at that time, owned Singapore and Hong Kong, and that experience over 7 years. In that journey, I'd made a presentation to an FMCG major. And he called me back and said, come, I want to talk to you. And I stood in front of him, and he said, listen, Anil, I love your thinking, and I love the way you're putting it differently, and I love what you're trying to achieve. But let's quit these grandiose plans of helicopters in the air and blah, 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 and let's start a step at a time. And I'm going to sanction 1/3 of your sponsorship ask. I know I could have negotiated up to half the sponsorship asked, but I just couldn't say yes. And when we couldn't agree, I got up, and as I was leaving his door, he stopped. He said, Mr. Singh, I think you might regret this decision. And I said to him, sir, you probably are way more right than I am. But here's my problem. If I fail doing it my way, it's okay. Failure is not a problem. I can sleep peacefully. I know I tried, didn't work. But can you imagine, because if I fail doing it your way when I think it won't work, how will I sleep then? And that's why I have to decline, because I have to stick to what I want to achieve, how I see it. So it's just that there's a few, you get these temptations, because I believe, in hindsight even today, that the entire dream would have been derailed if I went along that way. Anyway, now that I'm empowered with money, I started to knock on all government doors. And of course, the institutions. It was as tough as anything else. And I'll tell you one, just to know what I was dealing with. That time present traffic commissioner, when we made a presentation to him, actually leaned over the table and said, Mr. Singh, I just want you to know that for the President of India, we do a rolling road closure. And you want me to shut the city down for you? I've got your letter. I've got it. I will reply. And I knew what that reply was going to be. And sure enough, it was. But we didn't stop. We pursued this dream. We banged every door repeatedly. And hallelujah, one day, a very senior politician just understood every bit of our vision, understood every bit of what we were thinking and the scale we wanted to produce. Now, I don't know if that was the 627th attempt or if it was the 956th attempt. I really don't know. But it's important to know that that extra step, when you don't stop and you keep plugging away, things happen. It's got what you believe in. So like they say, 2 down, 1 to go. And what is that 1 to go? That 1 to go is about getting participative, to getting people feet on street. It's so critical, right? And I remember that there was no way that I would get people to run 21 and 42. It wasn't going to happen more than 10, 20, 30, 40. So this is what we did. For the distance runners, we begged Army, Navy, Air Force, Customs, Railways, NIS, Institute of Sport, Border Security was, please give us runners. Of course, we had the elite field, but please give us some Indian runners who are going to compete in these distances. And they were fantastic. They were simply fantastic. I think in the marathons, we had about 400 runners from these wonderful government institutions that came, and about 800, if I'm not wrong, half marathoners. And of course, we had the global elite field. So now we had a good close to 200 people running the distance side. But that doesn't make a story. So what do? And that's when the Dream Run was born. The Dream Run didn't exist in any event anywhere in the world. It didn't exist. It was our creation, And the idea was not even to say, come and run. It was a 7-kilometer race in the first year. We said, come, feel the magic. Run, walk, dance. Do it for whatever reason, but come. Our agency has got the campaign ready. Come along. And I did. And this was the campaign. Run because it makes you healthy. Run because it decreases your fat. Run because it's good for you. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I said, that's not what's going to happen. He says, who are you? And I said, I'm the promoter of the event. I'm discussing with my client. I know what's best for him. So I said, you may know what's best for him, but it ain't best for me. And this thing got a little aggravated. And the brand head took me out and said, Anil, what's wrong with you? This is our campaign. I said, buddy, I don't have money for my campaign. So he said, okay, you don't like this? What do you want to do? I said, I really don't have a clue what my campaign is. I wish I did. I don't have a clue. But one thing I do know, it's not this one. So there was no question of preaching. There was a question of creating hooks to get people in. And I went back and I did the campaign myself. It was possibly the most absurd campaign. I said, run because you want to be on TV. Run because you want to be on the hallowed turf where Michael Johnson and Mike Powell are. Run because you want to do it for charity. Run because of anything but charity. And on the race week, on that Sunday before, I remember because I think I slept about 72 hours in about 31 days, and I'm not exaggerating. And the beautiful part was that on the Monday of the race week, we had about 5,000 people, 6,000 people registered. But by the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we had a total of 16,100 people that registered. And given the fact that we had about 1,000 and a little more from the distance running side, the first Mumbai Marathon was over 70,000 people. Participative alone, this participative sport and this entire concept was not strong enough a pillar on which this movement could rest. We had to find another founding stone, and which was charity. And the idea was that we had to be cause agnostic. No cause was to outweigh another cause. It wasn't that. Because every runner today raises money for his or her cause of her choice. And that's the magic, because you need to feel connected. You need to feel involved. You need to feel empowered. It's vital. And all I'll say this is, today, our distance running vertical, just our distance running vertical, that consists of 4 events, has raised to 312 crores for over 600 NGOs. And that's the power of magic. And you know what? And here's the beautiful part. This is people's money. This is money that comes from here. So it was critical that we had a transparent, brilliantly secured, so when I say secured, I mean in terms of any wrongdoing. And here's the magic. If any of you donated 10 rupees in 2004, you'll know in which brick it lies. That is the transparency we've achieved. Because that's a lot of money we've managed over a lot of time. We have a long way to go. And we've set ourselves an audacious goal. That in the next 7 to 10 years, we will have 20 million people partnering this movement. And I promise you it'll happen. It's that first million that's tough. It's not, we should really make it work. I was just listening to the speaker before, and that's another thing that my brother Vivek and me feel so humbled, because in the last 15 years, the landscape of sport in India has gone a radical change, a myriad of changes. Look at what's happening. Kabaddi, badminton, hockey, football. And we're talking about serious stuff. Weightlifting, boxing, wrestling, leagues, table tennis. And this, along this journey, the can-do, will-do spirit of what this participative sport or the distance running movement sort of engineered and sort of. Today, promoters have seen the story of ours, that we too came from nowhere. And as long as we kept taking that extra step, we made it happen. And that belief, today you'll see so many promoters doing such magical things, and we're so humbled by that. It's just a fantastic thing. I've also had many, many emotional moments in my last 14 years. But there's one that has always stayed with me and always will. It's the Uncle Dougal story. For the first 2 years, Uncle Dougal, unfortunately, is bound in a wheelchair. And the first 2 years, his father would push him across the track, and people would cheer, and Uncle would smile. And in the third year, something unique happened. He told his father, he sort of gestured to his father, wait. And his father waited, and Uncle pushed himself on his wheelchair and stood up. And the crowd was going mental. And his father rushed to sort of, never seen this, he rushed to sort of think, and kind of in a way he shrugged it off. And he took one step. And I promise you, I was there. This was spiritual. It came from the power of the people cheering it on. And he did it. He took that step. And over the next few years, he's taken a few more steps. That's the power of sport. And if we all understand what participative sport is. And we film this Uncle Dougal bit every year. But we never air it on television. And we never show it on social media. We send this one footage, we have a special camera team for that. We send this footage to his family for them to cherish and for them to see where it came from. I'd like to leave you with a quote of the great quarterback Joe Namath. He was a New York Jets quarterback, a legend. And he said, if we aren't going to go all the way, why go at all? So ladies and gentlemen, sometimes going all that way is just that one extra step. Thank you.